Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today I will be telling you a few scary stories that I have experienced and also that few of my friends have shared with me. So let's start. So the first scary story that I have to share today is about a summer very long ago. I was about 11 or 12, I can't remember for sure, and I used to gather with few neighboring girls. Sometimes I was not very outdoorsy girl when I was younger, neither am I today. But either way, we used to spend the whole summer together, and one day one of them has mentioned that her older sister has brought an ouija box, ouija board home. So her older sister has tried that with her friends, and so yes, when she saw the board, she said that she wanted to try it too, and so she persuaded us to join her. So we gathered near a garden. I think it was something industrial, maybe a garden near a factory. So we gathered there at night, of course, and she brought the board, but yes, we sat. There were a lot of benches and tables in the garden, so we sat on one of those, and yes, the whole thing started. I did not participate that time because I thought that it was too much for me, even though I really liked horror movies since I was really small, and I used to fall asleep to X-Files song, but I don't know, it was just feeling about something not good about it, so I decided not to participate and just watched instead. And the whole thing went pretty well, but when we were going home, one of the girls, she started screaming, and she started just running and grabbed other girls around her to run. And so, and yes, I mean, we were very surprised with the whole thing, and we asked what was going on. And when she just didn't want to be there, and so we walked a little bit more, and then she told us that she looked at the tower. I think it was maybe like a radio, or maybe I don't know, phone tower. I really don't know, because again, it was something industrial. So she looked at the tower and she saw a woman who jumped from the tower, and yes, I mean, she disappeared mid-air because there was no woman there, we didn't see anything, didn't hear anyone falling, you know, because if she really jumped from the tower, it would have made noise if she fell, of course. And yes, but it was she was really scared, and she was really scared, and the fact that she was, you know, shaking and the whole thing, she was grabbing the girls around, so all of us felt pretty shocked. And of course, I mean, the whole procedure of a ouija box, you know, can be a bit creepy, and yes, the whole process is, well, not for 11 years old girls, but yes, that was the first situation. Until this day, she says that she really saw someone, and well, yes, that's how the first story goes. So the second story is another story that happened to me, and I was pretty small at the time. So it was summer again. Guess there's a line there. And I was at my grandmother's house. So I went there because she had a saint's picture. I'm not sure how it is called, but it was Saint Mary's picture that was being brought from one house to another, and yes, so basically she had that picture in her house for 3 days, and it was brought to a different house, the next house where the picture was going to stay. And so I came there, and I think that I was responsible for taking pictures, taking photos of the whole thing. And I was there with my cousin. She was a year younger than me. I think I was around 10 at the time, and she was 9. And so, yes, so the whole thing went on, and they took the picture and the painting, and they took it to a different house, and I took the photos. And yes, so they stayed at the house, the whole adult thing, you know, I don't know, for some food and drinks. And I asked my grandmother if I could go back to the house. And yes, so me and my cousin, we were walking up the hill. So the house where my grandmother lived, it was at the top of the hill. So yes, you could clearly see the house at the top. And I remember walking up, and I saw the house, and I saw that the lights were on. And I mentioned to my cousin, look, the lights were left on. And we went, you know, we arrived to the house, we came in, and I closed the front door. And there was another door from the corridor to the living room, which was the first room that was visible from the house. And basically she just says that who turned off the lights. And it was such a creepy phrase, because I mean, yeah, who turned off the lights? And she ran towards me because I was still in the process of closing the doors, and I was trying to open the door and she was pushing me because she was really scared. And yes, I mean, we ran out the house, and we were really scared. And yes, so we looked at the house, and I mean, there were no lights. And then we walked down, and this will sound pretty bad, but my cousin, she had a little brother. I think he was around 7, maybe 6, I'm not quite sure, but basically he was there as well at the party, and we convinced him to go to the house and check it if the lights were on, off, you know, because when we walked down from the hill, the lights were not on anymore. And then I was thinking, I mean, it could have been like a power thing, you know, but again, at the moment it was not something reasonable. So the boy went up to the house, we went with him and stayed nearby, and he went in, and yes, so he went in and the lights were on again. So until this day I really don't know. I mean, it could have been a power outage, you know, but I really don't understand what happened there. So all lights in the house were on, which was weird as well, that was the thing that I noticed coming up, because I saw that all windows were lighting. So yes, that was just a little bit scary moment. So the next scary story is a bit different one. It is not something that I am guessing that happened or not, or if it was something creepy or not. It definitely happened in front of my eyes and of another friend. So this was at night, and for reasons that I'm not going to share, we were at a small garden near a church, and the church also had a cemetery on the other side. So yes, this was at night. We were sitting at the garden, and the garden had a few trees, and one of them was a really big palm tree. So the palm tree started to have some noises. So we noticed that there were noises coming out. It sounded like someone was just moving inside at the top part of the palm tree, so the part with you know, with all the branches coming out. So we heard that noise and we started to look at it, you know, like, what is up? I mean, and yes, I mean, I was suspecting it being some kind of bird, and yes, maybe, I don't know, something was happening. And all of a sudden there was an owl who flew out of the tree, and it was one of those owls, really pretty ones, like the white ones with black dots, you know, spread. So she was flying around in circles around the palm tree, and I mean around the church as well, because the church was right there. And she was flying in circles, and yes, all of a sudden she just launched herself down, head down, and she she hit the ground, and she hit the ground, and she died. So seeing that was so shocking that I could not believe, like, what was up. And I mean, first of all, I was already shocked. We were already shocked with all the noise coming out from the palm tree. But I mean, in my opinion, what could have happened, maybe a snake or something came into the nest of the owl, and yes, maybe they were fighting. I don't really know what would be the whole reasoning. And maybe the snake bite her, or I mean, maybe the snake ate her children, and that's why they were fighting, and the whole noise was coming out of the tree. But the fact that she just, she flew very, very high, and she just let herself go head first, and yeah, she fell to the ground and she died. And yes, I mean, I was really shocked. My friend was really shocked, and I mean, of course, given that it was in the middle of the night and we were near the church and the cemetery, just added to the whole thing. I don't really understand what happened. Maybe I spoke with my mother. My mother is a veterinary, and she mentioned that maybe it was a snake bite, and she was fighting with the snake. And she also said that maybe she was just hunting, for her children. Maybe she brought something to them, and so that was the whole movement thing. And maybe she was hunting and she saw something, maybe a mouse running, or maybe, I don't know, maybe a snake. And she, they hunt like that. They catch the prey really fast from the ground. But I mean, I didn't see anything, running, and yes, I mean, she didn't stop. So we were really creeped out as well. And I was so scared that I went home and I woke up my mother and I said that has happened. And yes, she asked me, are you sure that the owl is really dead? I mean, maybe we can go there and I can check her. And yeah, I was pretty sure that she was dead, because she just stayed laying there, and there was no movement. We left after that happened, so I really don't know what happened to the owl. But yes, I don't know if I would be able to touch her, or just put her to the side, but there wasn't really no movement there. It was like a square near the church, so I'm sure that someone found her the next day. So yes, that was something that really happened, and until this day I really don't understand what happened and why as well. So that's the story. So the next story is a bit of a really weird one, because it was strange, kind of spooky. So it was in the middle of spring, and me and a few of my friends, we went to a concert. So one of my friends was driving, and we were driving home, and she said that her car was showing low gas, so she needed some fuel to be added, and she wasn't really sure. I mean, it was not a really new car, you know. So I checked I was the co-pilot, and I checked my phone. It was really back when, you know, Google was not the same as it is today. But I checked the maps for some gas stations. I mean, it was, she said it was urgent, and I was, you know, on it. So I was checking the maps, and we found the nearest gas station on the on Google Maps, and yes, we started to drive there. And yes, so it was a small village. I mean, the whole concert thing was in the middle of nowhere. It was really difficult to arrive there. We lost ourselves a few times on the way there, so on the way to the concert. But anyway, this was really late at night, and so the hope that the gas station was open was really low as well, because we didn't know if it really was. But yes, when we arrived to the point where, you know, the whole Google thing was indicating that the gas station is there, it was a house. I mean, maybe it used to be a gas station somewhere nearby, but it was a house. And when we stopped, because I mean, sometimes this type of services could be a bit hidden when in small villages. I don't know, we stopped, and yes, so we came out of the car just to look around, you know, if we saw something, maybe a street, maybe an entrance, but there was nothing around. And we saw a woman coming out of a house, and she was dressed in her nightgown, a really long one. She was a middle-aged woman. I can't remember how she looked. I just remember that she was wearing the nightgown and she was barefoot. And she came out of the house and she started talking to us. Like we said, you know, hello, good night, good evening, do you know if there's a gas station here nearby? And she really wasn't, you know, she was not responsive at all. I remember that she just said that, who are you? And then she said, I need help. And then she said that my bed is burning. And I mean, yeah, I was kind of worried. I asked her, have you called someone? Do you need to call like, you know, the firefighters or anything like that, the emergency? And she did not respond. Like, she was not anything that we asked her, she did not give an answer to. So I remember stepping, you know, towards her house with one of my friends, and we checked the house. You know, there was no smoke or, you know, sign of fire coming out. And I asked her again if where was the fire, and she said my house is on fire, and then she said again my bed is on fire. And I asked her if she was alone, and she was not responding. And then I realized that this was a very creepy situation, because we were in the middle of really nowhere. We didn't know where we were, and yes, I mean, the maps brought us to a place that was supposed to be a gas station, but it was really nothing. And the woman in the middle of the night coming out of nowhere. So yeah, my whole worried type of feeling started to get lost, and I started to feel kind of scared, because I mean, I really didn't know if that was, I mean, that could have been something on purpose. Maybe they wanted to rob us. I really don't know. But yes, now or back then, when we discussed the situation, I remember that the whole look of the woman, she looked like she was looking at us, but I mean, again, like, that was the same type of thing as with her answers. I mean, she was not responsive. Her look was really empty, and yes, I don't know if she realized where she was. So maybe she was sleepwalking, but like with her eyes. I mean, I don't know how that type of thing happened, and if it's even possible to be like that, because she came out of the house when we stopped. Maybe she saw us, and I don't know, maybe there was some kind of issue, mental issue that she was going through. So yes, that was the whole thing. And I remember just saying to my friend, look, let's just go. I don't think there's anything we can do to help her, so let's just make sure that she goes into the house, and let's just leave. And so me and my friend, we went to the woman, and we did not touch her. I was pretty scared to touch her, but we were at the distance, and we were guiding her. Let's just go to the door, and let's just go to the door, and yes, we wanted her to go in so we could leave. And yes, once she stepped inside the house, we just left, and I don't remember us stopping for gas, or did we? I think we did. Yes, I think we did go to the fast road. Yes, so the autobahn, and yes, there we found a gas station, and we arrived safely home. But it was really creepy situation. I really don't know what happened, and I really don't understand like the timing of things, because it was such a huge coincidence that we got lost in that place. We stopped in that exact spot, and I mean, the woman was there in the middle of the night, and I mean, yes, just the whole timing of the thing, and her state, like how she acted so emptily and was so not responsive. That was the creepy part. So yes, that's the story. So we have the last story, and I did save best or the most scary for last. So this story is pretty a long one, and that means that it had quite a bit of development. So there was a movie, a horror movie, that me and my best friend watched, and it was recommended to us by another friend that studied in the same city as my best friend. So this was back in Portugal. Shout out to Aveiro, great city. And we watched the movie. It was a pretty creepy movie. I'm not going to say which movie it is. I mean, I'm not trying to provoke anything, but yes, it is part of the story, so I'm going to share it. So we watched that movie, and we were pretty scared, to be honest. I mean, it was pretty extreme, I remember, and really creepy. And as it tends to be, they always say that it's inspired by real events. You know, it was inspired by a real thing. So yes, this was a few weeks before the whole thing happened. So basically we returned to our hometown. All of us were studying out in different cities, but we lived, you know, in the same place. So when we returned, we went to coffee at night, and we were just chatting around, you know. Just to mention that our home city, it really isn't a city. It's a small village in the middle of nowhere in Portugal. So it's, you know, nothing was going on. There was like one coffee, and that was the spot where everyone was going, you know, and it had an outdoor terrace, which was great. And yes, so we were sitting there having our tea, you know, and just chatting. And so this movie came up. So we started to discuss the movie and the whole thing. And one of the things that also is part of it is that at the time I was really interested in different kind of mythologies. So yes, I read a lot of books about mythology. I remember starting with Sumerian and Babylonian, you know, the whole Mesopotamia, and I also read few other books from cultures in Africa. Anyway, and one of the mythologies that I read included the god that was mentioned in the movie. So I said that I find it curious that they mentioned that one of the gods was the name of the demon, you know, the entity that was haunting the people in the movie. So we spoke about that god, you know, the whole description of it, and how he was placed within the mythology. So that was our conversation, and yes, so we mentioned his name quite a few times. I'm not going to share the name. Again, my experience and the experience of my friends was really scary, and I haven't said that name from then on. So yes, we had our conversation, and it was getting, late, so we just decided that we would go home. And we just, went home all together. I suppose that it would take similar time for us to arrive. I arrived home. I arrived home, and as per usual, I went to change myself, to my pajamas, and I went to the bathroom, washed out my face, brushed my teeth, the whole ritual. And I was coming out of the bathroom, and just to explain, the house that my parents were living in at that time had the living room in the middle of the house, and all of the other rooms were spread into different corners. In one of the sides were the kitchen and my parents' room, and on the other side was my room, and which was near the bathroom's door, and then my brother's room. And when you were stepping out of the bathroom, you would face the TV, and there were 2 couches, and then there was also a fireplace right next to my brother's room door. And next to the fireplace there was a big chair. So I turned off the light in the bathroom, and I was just walking towards my door, the door of my room, and I saw someone sitting on the chair, the big chair, next to the fireplace. And I didn't really saw who it was. I just saw a shadow that was sitting there, and I saw like a red dot or 2. I can't recall if it was 1 or 2 at the level of the face. So somewhere around the face. And my brother, he smoked. At night he would smoke near the fireplace, so that the whole smoke thing didn't spread around the house. So I didn't really think much of it, and I didn't speak to him. I just went to my room and I turned off the lights and went to bed. But then I was just turning around, and I heard my brother's bed. Our rooms were, sharing the same wall, and when he was turning around, he turned around on his bed. I would hear it, so you could clearly hear that he was on his bed. And when I realized that, it may not make too much sense to you, but his door was closed. The door to his room was closed, and I could definitely hear if he would come into the room and close the door or open the door to come into the room. So when I realized that he was already in bed, when I'm talking about it, I just got goosebumps. because when I realized that, the shadow that I saw was not my brother. And yeah, and I started panicking, and I mean, the fact that the red light was at face level, I started thinking that that was, you know, red eyes. And yes, so I got really scared, and the scary part didn't even start there, to be honest, because once I realized the whole thing, the name of the god that we were speaking about earlier, and that, you know, the name of demon that shows up in the movie that we saw a few weeks earlier, just endlessly was repeating in my head, and I could not stop it. And I felt a presence in the room. I really am not a person who denies or agrees with the whole, you know, ghost things or demons or whatever. There's a scientific part of me that, you know, I can tell myself as many times as I want that, you know, ghosts cannot be real because they have no energy to sustain them, so they cannot exist, because I mean, we consume energy from food, and therefore we are able to continue our life. And even if there was such a thing as ghost, I mean, what is the type of energy that they use, or, you know, keep themselves up? Because if they exist, I mean, and they move around, and, you know, the whole thing, what is the type of energy that fuels the whole situation? So I'm very skeptical, and until now I'm very skeptical of anything paranormal, you know, the demons and other things. But at the time, yes, I think that it could be something related just with the situation. I was not drunk or anything like that. We really just had the tea and yes, and went home. But yes, so I started repeating the name endlessly in my head, and I got so scared that I just covered my whole face. Obviously I was already with my eyes closed, and I just covered myself all with the covers, and I was sensing, or, you know, visualizing in my head that the entity was really close to me. It was like face to face where I was laying, and I felt like I was losing myself, or that something like it was really close. It was too close for my comfort, and I didn't know what to do. And I'm not a religious person. So yes, I mean, people have told me you should have started praying, or, like, you know, stuff like that, but I mean, it didn't came to my mind at the time. I mean, at the time I was much more skeptical of this type of situation that I am now. I was really, like, very scientific. My favorite subject at school was geology and physics, you know, so yes. But anyhow, the way that I dealt with that situation was pretty good one, I think. And if any of you ever need help in this type of situation, I hope you don't, but the way that I thought that I could defend myself, I thought like that, if they are here and partially here, you know, because I mean, they are not part of this dimension, or they are not part of the same physical realm. So they really don't have, you know, the full domain over my being, my physical being, and of course my mind still. So what I did was I imagined myself as I was laying in bed, but I imagined myself having energy coming from within, and it was light. So, I mean, just light, you know. Yes, so I imagined light coming from inside me. When I say light, it was a type of energy, you know, my vital energy that I have in my body, you know, strength and my brain power and all of that. So I imagined that in terms of light on my body. You know, when they say like you need to visualize things, so that was exactly what I did. I visualized myself covered in light, and then I expelled the light from myself in a way as an explosion would be of energy to the whole space, you know, like my room and house and everything. And yes, the entity disappeared. The entity, you know, the feeling that someone was there with me disappeared, and my fear as well. So yes, that was my experience, and I was able to calm myself down. And you know, just I fell asleep. I was really tired, so that took quite a bit of me overall. But my friends, as I mentioned, we went home at the same time, and I assume we arrived home at the same time, you know, give or take few minutes, you know, wearing pajamas, brushing teeth process. So yes, I think that we went to bed at the same time. And my best friend, so the friend that I saw the movie with, she said that she had a really specific ritual, you know, for the falling asleep process. So she had to have one of her legs out of the covers, and she tend to like bounce that leg from one side to another. And she said that she was almost falling asleep, and all of a sudden she remembered the name of the god that we were speaking about before. And she said that she felt, you know, that someone was there, and it was getting really close to her. She got really scared, and I mean, again, when you are scared, like you feel that if you are covered. It's so silly, but when you are covered with the blanket, is going to protect you, extra layer. Yes, so she tried to pull her leg in, and she said that she felt like something grabbed her leg. So that was even more creepy than my experience. And she said that, you know, she jumped on the bed and turned her light on, and there was nothing there, of course. But she said that she really felt it, and she was really scared. She was so scared that she got her dog into her room. And yes, so she slept like that. And then the third friend that we were talking with that night, she said that she arrived home and everything was fine. I mean, she lived alone, so again, that was pretty creepy, in a very big house. Her parents were not in at that time. And she said that when she was crossing the living room towards the upper floor where the bedrooms were, so she said that she was walking through the living room and a vase fall and broke. So, like from out of nowhere. So yes, that was her experience. And although she said that she didn't feel scared, she thought that it was very weird because the vase itself was not, you know, in the place that would easily slide, you know, like nothing was moving. It was at the top of a fireplace as well. So again, I mean, it's just the fireplace was made of granite, I think, as most fireplaces are made in Portugal. So yes, she thought that it was weird, but she did not associate, you know, to the whole conversation. But she said that she didn't want to clean it at that time, so she just saw it falling, and she just, you know, passed by, and she walked up to her room, and that was it. And we spoke about it during the next day. I didn't really want to bring it up because it was such a scary experience that I thought maybe I would scare them. But my best friend, she started her story first. And actually she just asked me, how did you arrive home yesterday? Did everything went fine? And I was like, no, there was something weird going on with me. And she told me the story, what happened to her. So yes, so those were the stories that I wanted to share with you today. I'm not the best at telling scary stories, but at least those are the ones that I know that actually happened, or, you know, I was there even if I didn't see anything. So yes, hope you enjoy this video. It's a silly video. Let me know if you would like something else. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you are doing well. Wish you all the best as always.